This last couple of months, we've had so many kind condolences sent our way, and words of comfort, shared memories, countless beautiful tributes to Psarah, which have been immensely appreciated. In fact, we pilfered some lines from many of you, I hope you don't mind, for the obituary. Not to mention the bounties of food brought to us over the first 2 weeks while we tried to find our bearings after losing Psarah so unexpectedly. I can't thank you enough. You know who you are, for your kindness, your generosity. My notes say pause and take a deep breath here. A number of people have thanked me for bringing Psarah into the world and raising such a wonderful person. I want to make something really clear. Although I did pass along to her the values and the ideals that I was gifted from my parents, I can't really take credit for who Psarah became. From the moment she was born, she had an amazing sense of self. She was a purely joyful and happy child. All I did was feed and nurture her like any good gardener caring for her flowers, and she blossomed into the amazing and beautiful person that she was. There are so many stories I can tell you about how Psarah became Psarah. And I don't just mean how Psarah with an S became Psarah with a P, which, by the way, happened like this. Tired of answering the constant question of, is it Psarah with an H? One day she simply said, yes, Psarah with the H and the P. You know, the silent P, like psycho or pterodactyl. When Psarah was just 3 years old, I took her to an appointment with Handicapped Children's Services to see if they could help me with some services for her. And when the caseworker came into the waiting room to escort us into her office, she asked Psarah her name. Sarah Alice Johnson, she replied. I'm quite a remarkable person. The caseworker turned to me and said, what an interesting little personality. As I said, she always had a strong sense of self and plenty of confidence. Diagnosed with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis at the age of 18 months, her disease progressed quite rapidly and her arthritic hands became visible at a very young age. Still, she carried herself with a sense of pride and confidence, not at all show-offy, just naturally self-assured and absolutely relaxed. She seemed unconcerned with her different look. Don't think she wasn't mocked and made fun of. She was. But she never was ashamed or shy. If someone insulted her, she knew very early on that it was their problem, not hers. At age 6, she was having a conversation with her cousin, whose mother also had rheumatoid arthritis. I don't know where she got the idea of God and that God may have been responsible for giving her arthritis, but she announced quite unceremoniously to her cousin, God hates me, I don't know why. Then she nonchalantly added, she also hates your mother. She said it kind of like it wasn't really any big deal. It was just the way it was, and she wasn't worried about it, so that was that. Now that's a pretty strong, self-assured little girl who can fend off the thought that God might have given her a painful disease. And for her to figure out that there must be something wrong with him, not that she did anything wrong or deserved that, good for her. Despite her positive self-image, I know all the mocking that she faced during her childhood hurt her, but she bore up, just as she handled her physical pain. And when it got to be too much, she could really stand up for herself. With a healthy dose of sass and snark, she could really put a bully in his or her place. In junior high school, she had to have some accommodation to survive the long hallways and stairs. So we had 2 sets of books, one set for home and one set for school. She kept each textbook stationed in its representative classroom to save her from having to carry a heavy book to and from class. There was a kid in one of her classes who was quite the little jerk. He was rather naughty, and when his behavior was questioned, he'd say, it's my way. One day when Psarah came to class a bit late, as she often did when she couldn't manage to navigate the long, crowded hallway, she walked over to get her book from the closet. The teacher was not in the room. The kid started mocking her, saying, there's Psarah, hobbling over to the closet to get her book, then hobbling back to her desk. Hey, Psarah, how come you do that? Well, she hobbled right on over to him, put her hands on his desk, looked him in the eye and said, it's my way. She was never afraid of confrontation, and in fact, she used it as an opportunity to teach. She was at a dance one time, out on the floor showing off her moves. She was a great dancer. She noticed some snotty girls on the sidelines making fun of her, whispering and pointing and laughing. So she danced her way over to them. I noticed you girls were laughing at me. Their faces turned red as they denied it. So I just thought I'd come over and let you know why I look this way. They had the decency to look ashamed. As she left, she said, "By the way, you just need to know that we can see you when you do that." One thing she hated even more than being mocked was being pitied, and especially hated being patronized. I took her to a JRA support group when she was about 12 years old. A group of girls about her age came in with their mothers. The mothers did most of the talking as the girls shyly receded into the background, and Psarah sat looking quite bored as the moms droned on about wanting to have their girls do a service project, maybe have a bake sale for a worthy charity. The rest of the moms were excited while the girls sat silently. "We could try to get their pictures in the newspaper," beamed one mom. The rest of the moms chimed in enthusiastically. Psarah piped right up and said, "Oh, I can just see the headline now. Arthritics bake cookies." Shocked silence. No one quite knew what to do with that. With that degree of snark and sarcasm at 12, what could I expect when she reached her teen years? Well, I thought I was pretty prepared for that. My mother was a junior high school counselor, and she had prepared me for the sullen teenage years. So when Psarah painted her fingernails black and wore way too much makeup, I wasn't bothered. But one day when she came down to breakfast with a large safety pin through her fingernail, that one thing just pushed me over the edge. I don't know why. I freaked out. "What are you doing, self-mutilating?" I sputtered. She sat me down, put her hands on my shoulders, looked me in the eye and said, "Mom, I just feel like looking slutty right now. I don't know why. But I'm fine. Chill out." Well, honestly, that really helped me. And I did chill out, and I survived the rest of her teen years. She was fine. Still, she did have her naughty side, and she liked to flaunt the rules. When she was teaching at Kennedy Junior High, she announced to her class one day that class was going to close 10 minutes early. "We're going to go out into the hall and have a wheelchair race." The whole class stood in the hallway while she and one of her students raced madly up and down the corridor. I don't remember who won that race. Melissa, do you remember? I thought it was you. I thought it was you. Psarah was outspoken, strong, and fearless, and a little bit naughty. She was also the life of the party. She had a knack for making everything fun. We were making signs for a yard sale. My signs were pretty utilitarian, boring, you might say. Her signs were much more exciting. She got out the glitter and the bright-colored markers and made several signs with much more pizzazz. "We have live monkeys, live nude girls." We had hordes of customers that day. 2 years ago, when she found herself with a cancer diagnosis on April 1st, yes, it was April Fool's Day, we were all very devastated and frightened. Psarah was the one who got us through her cancer year. She made it a party. She beat her cancer with style and her goofy sense of humor in fabulous outfits. The staff looked forward to what she would be wearing each time she came for chemo treatments. When her hair started falling out, she called to tell me it was time to shave it off. Brian, her husband, and I did the deed. She could see that it was hard for us, so she summoned her goofy side and laughed and joked all the way through the process. We did a pretty good job, but there was that annoying stubble that we just couldn't get close enough to eliminate. A few days later, she live-streamed a video of us taking bets from her viewers on which method would pull all the pin feathers out. The pink duct tape worked pretty well, but the Elmer's glue, that was the one that worked. Amber suggested that after her grandmother got cactus spines out of her with Elmer's glue. And anyway, her pate was just as smooth as a proverbial baby's bottom. No matter what life threw at her, she always maintained her dignity, her power, and her joy for life. And she passed that along to others through her teaching, through her community involvement, through her activism, and her upbeat personality that could make anything fun and fabulous. I'd like to read a short little story that Psarah wrote in her blog, T-Rex is My Spirit Animal. The story is entitled Finding T-Rex, Thoughts on Deformity. She writes, "I was at a 1-year-old's birthday party when it happened, a moment of perfect truth. She'd been watching me since my husband and I had arrived. She couldn't have been more than 4 or 5 and had the natural inquisitiveness that comes with children of that age. She slowly sidled closer and closer until, "Hi," I said. "You look like a T-Rex," she replied. My eyes lit up and a smile spread across my face. "You're right," I said. "But can you tell me why I look like a T-Rex?" "It's your arms," was her confident reply. "They're like this." She quickly mimicked the sharp angles at my wrists and elbows. "That's a very good T-Rex," I said, and with a roar we took off into a full-scale dinosaur battle. For the rest of the night, she studied me as a biologist might study a new species. "Catch this," she'd say, throwing me a ball. I'd catch it in the crook of my arms, my arthritic fingers lacking the dexterity to properly grip a ball. She continued her experiment with a number of requests. "Hold this glass. Pick me up." At no point did she judge my ability or inability to perform these tasks in the correct manner. She just observed how I did these things. It wasn't good, it wasn't bad, it was just different. There have been times in my life when I would not have embraced this comparison. Growing up with arthritis, my biggest and my only insecurity was my arms. I idolized the Venus de Milo for her lack of arms and did everything I could to hide my own. By college, I had figured out I should embrace my arms and stop trying to hide them. I found new idols in the form of squirrels, raccoons, and meerkats. But it wasn't until I found T-Rex that I could fully relate. T-Rex was strong, T-Rex was powerful, T-Rex was king, and when he got knocked down, he got pissed. I remember a time in high school when some kid tripped me just to be funny. I flipped over on my back and I started kicking the shit out of him. When someone managed to pull me away and help me up, I stormed off, slamming the door hard enough to shatter the glass. Yep, I'd found my spirit guide. T-Rex and I are now bonded for life and have been for about 20 years. You can find that story and more blog posts on her website, sarahjohnson.com. Of course, that's Sarah with a P. I'll leave you with a few messages that I think Sarah would like to pass along to us. Find your spirit guide, your spirit animal. Find your strength, claim your dignity, be proud, accept and celebrate yourself. Claim your power and don't be afraid to use it. Stand up, show up, be kind, be generous, have fun, and enjoy life.
Must have been a beautiful baby. You must have been a wonderful child. When you were only starting to go to kindergarten, I bet you drove the little boys wild. And when it came to winning blue ribbons, you must have shown the other kids how. I can see the judge's eyes as he handed you the prize. I bet you made the cutest bow. Oh, you must have been a beautiful baby, 'cause baby, look at you now. Does your mother realize the stork delivered quite a prize the day he left you on the family tree?
I've never taken it up with her.
Does your dad appreciate that you are merely super great, the miracle of any century?
He hasn't mentioned it.
If they don't, just send them both to me. You must have been a beautiful baby. You must have been a wonderful child. When you were only starting to go to kindergarten, I bet you drove the little boys wild. And when it came to winning blue ribbons, you must have shown the other kids how. I can see the judge's eyes as he handed you the prize. I bet you made the cutest bow. Oh, you must have been a beautiful baby, 'cause baby, look at you now.